950.
WWJ News Time, 8:34. Michigan's 16 electors will be gathering in Lansing on Monday to vote in the Electoral College for Democrat President-elect Joe Biden. Let's talk about the steps that will finalize the 2020 presidential election and the political impact of this year's elections. Joining us live on WWJ is Oakland University political science professor Dave Dulio. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I guess let's start first. Do we expect any drama or in this, the casting of the electoral votes?
Here in Michigan, absolutely not. The electors are chosen in a multi-step process, and the first step of that process is for the parties. Over the summer, they each picked 16 different people. So, and then on election day, what we do is we vote. We don't vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. We vote for the electors who will represent Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So we have 16 people who've been chosen by the Democratic Party to represent and vote for Joe Biden on Monday. And in addition to that, there is a state law that says these electors must vote for the candidate who got the most popular votes in the state. So no drama on Monday.
All right. And the Electoral College, we all talk about it a lot, but probably not a lot of us know a lot about it. In fact, I don't even know. You just said it's 16 Democrats that are going to vote. Is it which party wins the vote in the state that gets to send the electoral electors to the Electoral College for the vote?
That's correct. What we do on Election Day is choose a slate of electors. So we were choosing technically on November 3rd. We were choosing between 16 people to represent the Democratic Party, or 16 people to represent the Republican Party, or the Libertarian Party, or the Green Party. Each party puts forth a slate of electors, and that is what we're choosing on Election Day formally.
Interesting. So even at 60 years old, you can learn things, folks. It's amazing to me, but I always thought we were voting for a person. We were voting for persons. What do you know? Do you think more needs to be done to improve this idea of how we elect our presidents?
Well, that's up to your listeners. I think that there are, we certainly have a unique method of selecting the president. But the story behind it is complex, and it's a long one, which we probably don't have time to get to on the radio this morning. But, the Electoral College is one mechanism. There are others out there. And if the public and our representatives think that we ought to change, you might see something happen. But at this point, I don't foresee anything shifting in the next at least couple election cycles.
All right. If we see an expanded use of mail-in voting in the future, does that improve the prospect of either party? Because we hear that a lot, that it favors Democrats.
Well, I think that a potential shift to a lot more no excuse absentee ballots, early voting, is a potential game changer in terms of the number of votes that are cast and how parties and elected and candidates campaign. But I think, it probably wouldn't advantage anybody. The parties will just adapt. They will figure out a way to deal with that new reality should it come. And we'll see close election contests here in Michigan like we have for decades.
Now, you mentioned the other alternatives, ways to elect a president, popular vote versus the election numbers. Does that make sense to switch to the popular vote, discard the Electoral College?
Yeah, it's another option, that's for sure. And there's been there's been calls for that for many years. But because the Electoral College is enshrined in the Constitution, it would take a constitutional amendment to undo that. There is an organization out there called National Fair Vote, I believe, that is trying to put together an interstate compact that would potentially get around the Electoral College, but that's a long way off from happening.
And opponents of that argue that would put states like Michigan in a less strong position than, say, California, New York, other more populated states, right?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, the Michigan gets, and you and I saw it, your listeners saw it throughout the fall. Michigan had a great deal of attention from the candidates, which is good for Michigan, right? They come here and they talk about issues and address issues that are important to us, to voters here in Michigan, like trade and manufacturing jobs, auto industry. If that attention is not on our state, we sort of lose out on that. So I know there have been, as part of this national compact idea that's out there, a number of states have considered it and set it aside because for that very reason, that their states would be disadvantaged. So there are a number of states that would have to sort of give up some power if they were going to go in that direction.
So Republicans are questioning the integrity of this year's election. Does that, and it appears they're going to lose, but I understand there's still some legal maneuvering to be done. What does that do to the future of our elections, if anything?
Well, this is not the first time, right? I mean, you mentioned Republicans, and it's really in sort of President Trump's base of supporters where that doubt is there. But if we go back 4 years ago, there was a sizable amount of doubt in the Democratic base about the fairness and legitimacy of the election just 4 years ago. We tend to forget about that. So it's just another twist and turn in this thing we call representative democracy.
Do you have any insight into the division in the country, let alone the state? The conservatives, liberals, Republican, Democrats, whatever you want to label you want to put on it.
Oh gosh, it's the division, divisiveness, polarization. It's there, and it's going to be with us for at least a little bit longer. I think, in fact, it may get worse before it gets better. But it's not like this is the first time in American history where we've seen this kind of polarization, this kind of division. We've come out of it before, and I'm confident that we will again.
Oakland University political science professor Dave Dulio on WWJ. Thanks for the education, Dave. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Thanks. WWJ News Time.